A very happy Friday to you. Thank you so much for being with us today. I'm meteorologist Ashley Ruiz, and welcome to Weather Out West. This is an hour-long show where we showcase what's happening weather-wise across the western United States. And you're going to find forecasts from our meteorologist in the Pacific Northwest to the Mountain West, California, and Arizona. Today, we are kicking things off in Arizona. Thursday was the hottest August day on record in Phoenix. Thankfully, for our friends in Phoenix, the heat is going to back off a touch over the weekend. But until then, an extreme heat warning is in effect. Here's Ginger Jeffries with much more.
I'm meteorologist Ginger Jeffries. We'll look at weather out west, and oh boy, it has been a record-worthy week for the entire state of Arizona as we have been smashing records. Yesterday, in fact, this is a little different. This isn't just a daily record. This is a daily and monthly record. We peaked at 118 degrees yesterday in Phoenix, which is the hottest ever recorded single-day temp for the entire month of August. Yeah, so August 7th, 2025, definitely going down in the record books. Now, 118, it's not normal. It's not common. It's something we definitely make a big deal about because it's only the 30th time in history that we've seen 118 degrees in Phoenix. And just if you play along at home, understand this is the third summer in a row that we've gotten up to 118 degrees. So it just kind of puts it into perspective. Now, today we still have our extreme heat warning for all the areas you see in pink. Temperatures are going to be between about 108 to 115. So continuously dangerous heat. However, it ends tonight and we are getting a marginal amount of relief in the next few days. I mean, it's a dog days of summer. So yeah, stay indoors, drink plenty of water because even though the warning expires, I'm still talking about temperatures that are going to be upwards of 110 degrees. So today around the valley, we've got 111 in Mesa, 112 for Goodyear, 111 in Surprise, and our official high at Sky Harbor Airport should peak at 113, which won't break today's record. 116, that's your record for this Friday. Now, in case you're wondering, where should we be this time of the year? Well, obviously, much cooler. Our average high should be closer to 105 degrees, but clearly we're elevated, and the entire state seeing once again above normal conditions. I mean, 102 today in Sedona. I've got 90 in Flagstaff. Now, a little bit of wind starting to develop. This is going to be a concern for fire weather. We're extremely dry. We're very hot. And now we're going to add in some wind. So we do have heightened concerns about fire danger starting today, and it's going to stick with us through the weekend. Meantime, Parker, you're going for highs of about 115 degrees, 112 in Quartzsite. Now, as far as the rain, I mean, obviously, we're in the middle of monsoon. I'd love to say we're picking up some moisture, but no real measurable chances on the horizon. Just maybe some drizzle here and there. Normal rainfall by this point in monsoon is a little over an inch of rain, but right now, as you can see, we're below a quarter of an inch for this year. And today doesn't look like we have much monsoon energy overhead. We will see some moisture bubble up around us. You can see ones and twos, so very minimal moisture as far as what these cells can produce. But watch what happens overnight. We're starting, or after about 6:30 and then into the overnight hour, you can see very isolated, very pocketed systems, but it's this cloud bank that's rolling through overnight. So I'm talking tonight between about 1 to 3 a.m. And again, even though it's not showing up as measurable rainfall, I think this bank of cloud cover could produce a little bit of saturation. So how does it map out over the next few days? Look at the White Mountains. Good chance at some rain today and another round moving through Thursday and Friday. For high country, about a 40% chance today, dropping to 30% through the weekend. And then, of course, for the valley, yeah, we're pretty much cruising at a 0 for the next 7 days. But then it does look like a little moisture development beyond that. I'll keep you posted. Meantime, 7-day forecast. All right, numbers wise, another round of heat today, but then we start to level off in a more manageable category, mid 80s for the higher elevations. Weather impact alert day today, 113, but we are coming down. We should be out of record territory, but we're staying above the normal range all next week.
High heat, wildfire smoke, and high fire dangers. That's what Denver's Chris Bianchi is tracking in his latest forecast.
High fire danger continues into Friday for us and through the day on Friday and even into early Saturday across the high country. One of those be smart days for us across the higher elevations of Colorado in particular. Just a little bit of background for us. In Colorado, we're not too accustomed to having high fire danger during the months of July and August. Reason being, these are typically our least windy months of the year, but 30 to 40 mile an hour winds and plus a very dry and hot week. Unfortunately, those grasses are dry, so any fire that starts here on Friday could spread quickly. So those winds gusting 30 to 40 miles an hour at times for us on our Friday across the high country in Denver and along and east of the I-25 corridor. Those winds will calm down for us on Saturday. Now, the smoke from all those fires will continue to be a bit of an issue, especially for Fort Collins, Steamboat Springs. You might notice that ebb and flow nature of that smoke. It's not going to be consistent, but we'll have enough smoke around that you'll see some of that across many of the same areas that have seen it over the last few days, the Yampa Valley, out by Grand County and Grand Lake, and east into the Fort Collins, Loveland, and Wellington areas, but we should see some improvement this weekend. Friday, the final day of a very hot stretch in the Denver area, and it's not necessarily how hot it's been by individual day, it is the longevity of this heat. In Denver, Friday will be our 5th consecutive day at or above 97. For a little context, we've only done that 11 other times in recorded history, which goes back 152 years. In Denver, one more really hot day before finally some merciful, sweet, such sweet relief for us in the Denver area on Saturday and Sunday with a high of 80 on Sunday. That is going to feel like the North Pole compared to where we've been all week long. Drier and more typical mid-August heat for us for next week.
74 degrees. That was the official low temperature in Denver yesterday, the official low temperature taken out at DIA. 74 degrees marks the warmest low since 1881. Now, the warmest low on record happened July 3rd, 1881, 77 degrees. So yesterday, August 7th, 2025, that 74 degrees marks the second warmest low temperature in Denver. The average low temperature, by the way, is about 60 degrees. Now, yesterday also tied for the second hottest day on record here in Denver. This is based on the average daily temperature. We're not talking about necessarily the afternoon high temperature, but the average between the afternoon high temperature, which was 99 degrees yesterday, and the morning low, which was 74 degrees yesterday. That temperature was 86.5 degrees. So that tied for the second hottest day on record here in Denver.
We have a lot to talk about coming up on Weather Out West. After the break, we're headed to the Golden State. Our meteorologist in Sacramento and San Diego will talk about more heat. And later, we're going to discuss tonight's full moon and the Perseid meteor shower. We are following those hot temperatures all the way to Southern California, where heat alerts are in effect for San Diego County's valleys, mountains, and deserts. San Diego's Vanessa Paz will tell us when the heat will finally ease.
Well, happy Friday from San Diego, California. I'm CBS 8 meteorologist Vanessa Paz. Here's what it looked like earlier along the coast. We were covered in clouds along some of those coastal communities, but looking ahead to this afternoon, a lot of those clouds will mix out, making way for another very gorgeous afternoon. All right, we were very hot yesterday. In fact, we've been under this excessive heat wave, especially for interior parts of the county. The heat peaked yesterday. It'll simmer down a tiny bit today, even more so this weekend. But we broke some records as we take a look at some of the daily max records that we broke. That included Ramona easily beat their old record of 101 back in 2018 with a new record of 104 yesterday. We reached a high close to 110 in Campo, and we easily broke the old record of 105 that was also set back in 2018. And Borrego Springs, it was so hot. We got close to 120 yesterday afternoon, beating an old record of 114. Meanwhile, just to our north, Idlewild tied their record of 96 106 in Palm Springs, very popular spot, was also looking at excessive heat, close to 120 yesterday afternoon, breaking their old record of 116 that was set back in 1980. All right, as we end your work week and say hello to the weekend, hot temperatures will continue for the valleys. We do have another chance of breaking records, especially for interior parts of the county later on this afternoon. We stay warm this weekend, but those daytime highs will be shaved a few degrees back to seasonal. So not to say that we're not going to be very cool. We're still going to remain warm, but a lot of the the advisories and the warnings that we're currently under will expire this weekend because we're expecting temperatures to kind of simmer back a little bit. So we are still looking at excessive heat warnings as well as red flag warnings and heat advisories for much of the Southwest. Here in San Diego County specifically, we have that heat advisory and extreme heat warning. Those both will end tonight for San Diego at 8 p.m. and they're likely not going to get extended, but again, that could change. But as of right now, ending tonight at 8 o'clock. The valleys will continue to soar close to 100 degrees. The mountain areas will be anywhere from the low 90s to the triple digits. And we still have that extreme heat warning all the way through Friday night for the desert areas. In case you're wondering, what exactly does that mean? Well, the heat advisory, which is impacting the inland valleys as well as the mountain areas, that means those that are susceptible to heat-related illnesses. That includes kids as well as those elderly should seek cooling, and make sure if you have loved ones that are kids or elderly, just make sure they have adequate cooling system. The same goes for the desert areas, but this will impact the entire populations of those desert neighborhoods all the way through tonight. All right, here's a look at what I'm expecting for today's highs. We will soar once again close to the 80s for much of the coastal areas. We'll shave off a few degrees this afternoon for interior parts of the county, hitting a high in the mid 90s for Escondido, close to 100 degrees in Ramona, and low 90s expected for Julian as well as Alpine. We are still encountering that wildfire smoke. Remember, smoke, it's a fine particulate matter. Just because you don't see it does not mean it's not there. So if you're sensitive, maybe you have respiratory issues, I would highly advise that you run the air purifier and making sure that you're limiting time outside. That ridge of high pressure is going to flatten out a bit, weakening, and that's going to allow for some slight cooling looking ahead to this weekend. Minimal daily changes for the coastal areas. In fact, we'll see a slight bump Sunday, but most of the coastal communities will trend in the mid 70s, shaving off a few degrees towards the latter part of the work week. The inland valleys will be rather warm tomorrow afternoon, closer to 90 degrees, and then we'll see those daytime highs, very subtle daily changes as we look ahead to the end of next week. The mountain areas will once again be in the mid 90s. We stay in that direction all the way through about Tuesday, and then Thursday and Friday is looking like some of the coolest days for both the mountains and desert areas come next week.
Well, the heat is backing off a little bit in Southern California over the weekend. Temperatures are going up in Northern California. Here's Rob Carlmark with the details from Sacramento.
Hello, I'm meteorologist Rob Carlmark with our forecast for Northern California, which is a pretty simple one. We are getting hot and we're going to stay there for a while, all the way through this upcoming weekend. What's interesting about that is that we just haven't really had a lot of hot weekends at all this entire summer. So it's been very interesting around here locally as we've been getting by with really nice weather for us, with mostly highs in the 80s and below average for huge chunks of time in July. And we'll talk about that in a second. But now it's getting hot. We've got sunny and dry conditions. The only side issue is that it's a little foggy along the coast, but that burns off in the afternoon. Going back to July for some perspective, last year we had 16 days of triple-digit heat when we normally have about 5. The average high was nearly 99 degrees. This last month, the average high was 89 degrees. That's a significant difference, and we only had one triple-digit day. We could end up with 3, maybe 4 in a row if you consider today all the way through Monday. That's the potential that we're going to have here going forward. The calendar for August had some near average days, some below average days, and now we've really started to ramp things up. And today, we're going to be right around 99 to 100 degrees. Now, one of the things that's been actually pretty nice, in addition to the cooler weather, look at our air quality. Really good shape. This is for higher elevations, Tahoe, just beautiful. And I just updated this today because the brand new numbers came out. When you take a look at our fire seasons, we've got the 5-year average. So about this time of year, we usually end up with about 250,000 acres that's burned with more than 4,000 fires. Last year, we had more than 400,000 acres. And this year, it's less than last year, but it's above average. And we're not done yet because over the weekend, we do expect more acres to burn because we have 2 significant wildfires burning in Southern California. So that's going to be a source of more acres burn, potential evacuations, and more smoke in the air. For Northern California, the air quality is good and should remain good. We're just too far away from those fires without the wind blowing in our direction. So clear sunny skies is the case. For some weekend activities, some people will be heading to the coast to avoid the heat. The water is always cold. People may not know this about Northern California. Water temperature is cold year-round. So when people are surfing or boogie boarding and just playing around the waves in Santa Cruz, it's a full wetsuit. In Southern California, it's very different. So we've got a couple feet of surf. It's not much, but it's not enough to play around in. But hey, at least you're not in triple-digit heat, right? So we've got temperatures that'll be triple digits for the lower elevations, 90s for the foothills, and 80s up high. In Oakhurst, which is one of the gateways to Yosemite National Park, 97 degrees. Madera, Merced, Fresno, all well above 100 degrees with bad air quality. Same thing with Bakersfield at 105. We've got some coastal valleys that are going to be really warm as well. So the only place that you're going to find relief is going to be higher elevations or along the immediate coast. But even for those spots, getting kind of warm. 76 there for San Francisco when it's usually in the 60s if the onshore wind is blowing. We've got 105 for Redding, 104 for Shasta. And for the entire region along the Central Coast, both the Sacramento Valley, which is tied to the Sacramento River, or the San Joaquin Valley, which is tied to the San Joaquin River, which flows north into the Delta, we're going to have hot temperatures everywhere, looking at right around 100 degrees. If you don't get to 100, you're looking at 99. Big deal, right? We've got temperatures that for the mountains will be really nice when you look at it, but at higher elevations, 85 really nails you. So people that are be spending time in the mountains, it's going to be a warm for those locations, and not a lot of air conditioning in Tahoe. A lot of people don't know that. For the foothills, it's going to be nearly 100 for the valley spots, like I mentioned, 100 along the coast. Much better temperatures, much better weather. Over the next 7 days, we're looking at near triple-digit heat or hotter through the weekend. Nice cooling, getting back to the 80s next week.
Coming up after a quick break, we're taking you up to Oregon and Washington. After a nice break from the summer heat in the Pacific Northwest, temperatures are cranking up this weekend and early next week. Our weather team in Portland issued a weather impact alert for Sunday and Monday.
Happy Friday to you from the Rose City. I'm meteorologist Rod Hill. We have a beautiful Friday and warmer, but a nice Saturday upcoming. Our big headline is still tracking the hot weather that's in store for our area this coming Sunday afternoon through Monday afternoon. Our local office of the Weather Service has an extreme heat watch up. This includes all of our region in the Willamette Valley in southwest Washington from I-5, Kelso, Longview, Castle Rock, all the way down through Portland, Salem, Albany, and all the way down to Eugene. The excessive heat or extreme heat is also being warned for in the western Columbia River Gorge and all the way to the Hood River Valley for hot weather. So weather models had been trending down for Portland a little bit each of the last couple of days. And then the models that came out late yesterday afternoon and held course this morning started bumping temperatures back up. So we're kind of right where we started when we were talking about this earlier in the week. And that would put the Willamette Valley Sunday and Monday in the range of at least 95 to some spots could hit 100. And for folks at the beach, we don't get a lot of these just super warm, clear sky days, but we think we will, especially on Sunday. Coast highs no cooler than 75. I think a lot of the Oregon coast will be 80 or slightly better on Sunday, and there could be some spike locations up to about 90. Now, the best chance to hit 90 along the coast would be slightly inland areas like Tillamook that sets into a valley. So we're watching that. Here are the numbers specifically for Portland for the weekend. 86 tomorrow, no warnings, just a nice warm August afternoon. The record, by the way, is 105. Back in the heat wave of 1981, that still holds a lot of our records locally. And then here comes the KGW Weather Impact Alert for the hot 96 on Sunday. The record's 107, so we're not talking about records because records depend on the individual dates, and these dates have hot past to them. Monday, 97, impact alert, record is 102 back in 1977. There's a big high pressure system sitting about right here out in the Pacific that's going to continue to strengthen and then continue to push the cloud flow farther to the north. That will give us the clear sky pattern, including our beaches, as I mentioned, all the way through the weekend. Our cameras are fantastic on this Friday. Here's our Schnook Winds Casino Resort camera in Lincoln City, where it could be 70 degrees this afternoon. There's our state capitol with sunshine as well. And here's downtown Portland on a Friday with, we'll call it mostly clear skies. You can see a little ribbon stretch of some kind of flat individual cumulus clouds here over the West Hills. Our valley forecast numbers. For today, we get back up into the 80s. We have been in the 70s. Of course, we had the rain back on Wednesday. Today, 84 in Salem, pretty close to normal for this time of the year, light northwest winds. Southwest Washington also expected at 80. In fact, this shows 82 in Longview, Battleground, and Vancouver. And I have Portland also getting up to about 82. Here are the numbers statewide, highlighting no hot weather today. Nobody's going to be hitting 90. In fact, Pendleton only 82. That's really considered cool this time of the year for you folks. About 86 in the Dalles. Winds in the Columbia River Gorge this morning have been light. Just a beautiful sunny day. And then you've got the 80 or slightly warmer in the Willamette Valley, in the 60s and 70 at the coast. So our latest forecast numbers, 82 in Portland this afternoon, really nice. 86 tomorrow. Get things done like yard work if you can to avoid being out in the heat on Sunday and Monday afternoons. Sunday afternoons, we mentioned 96, the KGW weather impact alert will be in effect. 97 on Monday. Models split as to whether or not we will be in the 80s or just get up to 90 on Tuesday, but certainly we'll lose the extremity of the heat, if you will. And then 80 on Wednesday, and we're actually tracking at least a chance of some rain showers. The temperature is cooling all the way into the 70s on Thursday of next week. It will be sunny, but don't forget, if you're in the Portland area, really hot Sunday and Monday.
Thanks so much, Rod. Now it's time to take a trip east of the Cascade Mountains to eastern Washington. Here's Thomas Patrick with the toasty forecast from Spokane.
I'm meteorologist Thomas Patrick in Spokane, Washington. Happy Friday, everyone. And our weather looks beautiful for today and the weekend ahead. So after tracking a few showers and thunderstorms the past couple days, after seeing some cooler weather the past couple days, things will return to a more average and expected summer weather conditions, especially for the weekend ahead. And for our weather headlines to say back to sunny weather, dry weather, and hot weather, I put a bet that this isn't the first time I've used those three words in the weather headlines. That's kind of our baseline when it comes to the summer season for eastern Washington. It's just returning to those conditions after having, again, some of those cooler days with some showers and thunderstorms across the region. Most of the storms really did dodge Spokane as of yesterday, but today, after some cooler weather this morning, we'll be back into the 80s this afternoon. Only ever so slightly below average, technically, weather-wise, temperature-wise for the afternoon highs, but starting to feel a lot more comfortable and a lot more typical of the summer season. So the storm system that gave us some scattered thunderstorms, especially for northern Washington yesterday, the center of it is over Montana right now. A lot of the heaviest severe weather has pushed through North Dakota and Minnesota. This MCV, mesoscale convective vortex, has started to pass way off to the east. Now, several states at this stage. All that to say it's in the rearview mirror. It's taken a lot of its cloud cover along with it. I have not even seen a single cloud in the sky so far over Spokane. So a beautiful day out at Riverfront Park, a very sharp shadow coming off of the clock tower right there. Also, North Idaho looking just as beautiful. This particular sky camera pointed down at the waters there, but should be great to hit the lakes, the rivers, the streams, do some paddle boarding. That would be awesome for this weekend, especially as the weather gets a bit warmer. Here's a few clouds over Sandpoint, Idaho, but very pleasant conditions, just those fair weather cumulus clouds in the sky. Today, funny enough, is National Pickleball Day. Did you know that it was invented in Washington State over on the west side, Bainbridge Island? It would be a great day to play some pickleball, as well as if swimming might not be your favorite thing in the world. Afternoon high temperatures into the low 80s here in Spokane should be beautiful for any and all outdoor activities. So there are some of those light clouds over North Idaho, but it's been absolutely clear for eastern Washington, and from Spokane's perspective, It will definitely stay that way for today. Sunny skies, and there's your temperatures. Low 80s for Spokane, mostly in the upper 70s for northern Idaho. Looking absolutely comfortable for today. But then the heat starts to build. So this will be our next weather story for the weekend ahead. Sunday starts to get into the 90s here locally. So sunny and hotter conditions. Again, great to hit the water to cool off, but it's that heat that will stay for a handful of days. What will happen is this big ridge in the jet stream will start to arc over the west coast of the U.S. and it locks in the heat, locks in the dry weather as well. So that's why for eastern Washington, highs in the 90s quite easily through the early half of next week. I have Monday as our hottest day, so we'll kick off the new work week sweating a little bit. 95 degrees for Spokane and Coeur d'Alene with some triple-digit heat for areas like Moses Lake, Chelan, Wenatchee, and out towards the Tri-Cities of Richland and Kennewick and Pasco at about 104 degrees. This will be pretty hot, not our hottest day of the season. Probably won't need any heat advisories for this kind of heat. Again, early, mid-August, still can be plenty hot for the region. But that's the direction we are heading, back into the 90s by this Sunday. And what you'll notice on Spokane's 7-day forecast is absolutely no rain chances at all.
Coming up after the break, we're staying in the Northwest, bringing you Boise and Seattle's forecast. Plus, after decades away, bison are back on tribal land in eastern Washington. Later on, how their return is restoring the land and reclaiming a cultural legacy. Welcome back and a happy Friday to you. I'm Ashley Ruiz, and it's going to be a beautiful weekend out west and in Boise, Idaho. Temperatures will be below normal at least until later this weekend and next week. Here's Hector Mendoza with much more.
Hello everyone, my name is Hector Mendoza here forecasting out of Boise, Idaho, and just wanted to show a picture that we got on our Idaho Weather Watchers Facebook page of a cloudy sunrise out in Bonneville County, and this is looking out on into the east, and they posted this here, Doris, on our Idaho Weather Watchers Facebook page. You can see some of those colors there. We aren't really going to see much of those clouds later on in the day on Friday, and we're expecting to see some clear conditions as we get on in towards the weekend, but just a beautiful view from this Friday morning. And looking at the past 2 weeks, we've stayed relatively warm. We started off cool this week with temperatures into those mid 80s. Saw those mid 80s again return as we got onto Thursday, and that's going to continue on in through Friday before seeing temperatures warm up as we get closer into the weekend and into next week. So we have those cool conditions with breezy conditions on Friday as well. That's going to make its way on out. It's going to make way for some hot temperatures to come along for Monday and Tuesday, and that's due to this high pressure that's going to take over and slowly and gradually start to warm up our temperatures. So as we look at what we're expecting here for Saturday, we go from those low 80s on Friday to the upper 80s on Saturday. Temperatures also in the morning will slowly start to inch up, still pretty cool into those upper 50s, and then we're back into the 90s, getting closer to seasonable temperatures and back to normal temperatures as we head on into Sunday with lots of sunshine for this weekend. And even looking at the next 5 days past the weekend, as we look on into Monday and Tuesday, temperatures continue on the up and up here as we get back into the upper 90s, and then we have another cooling trend that comes along, but we look to stay pretty seasonable there for Wednesday into those mid to low 90s. So if you have plans to have any yard work, or that's on your checklist, the next couple of days are looking pretty good as temperatures aren't going to be too hot for those afternoons. But once we get into Sunday and Monday, you want to start to maybe just kind of dial it back and either go early on into the morning or make that yard work, cross that off of the list later on into the afternoon when some of those conditions start to cool off. And then looking at our Saturday, we are going to see that some of the temperatures get again into those upper 50s into portions of the Treasure Valley, and then we're going to continue to see some of those conditions really cool off. And again, another frigid start for Saturday there in Stanley at 32 degrees. So things are going to start off pretty cool. So if you are heading out on Saturday and have a tea time early on into the morning, things are going to look pretty good as temperatures will get up to about the upper 60s there by 10 o'clock for tomorrow. Might see some clouds kind of come and go. We see mostly sunny skies, and then by 3 o'clock those temperatures get back into those upper 80s as we head on in towards the rest of our Saturday. But as we start to look at the 7-day forecast for the mountains, we'll see those temperatures into the upper 70s for Saturday, rising back up, maybe seeing some clouds in and out through the rest of next week, but then those temperatures will slowly start to climb down into those upper 70s by the time we get to the end of next week. Twin Falls, we see very similar conditions as we wrap up the work week with some of those breezier conditions. A bit of that sunshine and some clouds that will come and go there on Saturday, but then those temperatures will warm up back into the 90s as we get into the beginning of next week. And as we look at the 7-day forecast here in Boise, some of those temperatures will get pretty warm as we get on into Monday and Tuesday for those kids that are going to be starting and coming back into school. We're going to expect to see some warmer temperatures get back to normal, just kind of where we normally see some of these high temperatures around August. And then we're also going to see that those early morning starts as folks are heading out and for their commute into the early morning, we're going to see those morning temperatures back into the mid to upper 60s into Tuesday. And we expect to see another system that comes in, not expecting much moisture with it for now, but we are expecting some of those conditions to cool off back into the upper 80s with lots of sunshine Wednesday into Thursday.
After a tiny taste of fall in western Washington this week, summer is making a noticeable comeback over the weekend and into early next week. I have the forecast details from Seattle, Washington. Hey there, I'm King 5 meteorologist Ashley Ruiz in Seattle, Washington, and it's going to be so beautiful this weekend, but it is going to be hotter than what we've been dealing with. We had the rain the last couple of days. That's a thing of the past at this point. Our temperatures are going to climb over the weekend, peaking early next week, which I'll have more details on how the forecast could change between now and then. That's coming up in just a few minutes, but let's talk about the weekend, because today we are going to have mostly sunny skies. Temperatures will be near normal, if not a couple of degrees below normal. This time of year we should be right around 79 here in Seattle, so tomorrow a better chance for that. But then Sunday, Monday, and potentially into Tuesday, we're dealing with well above normal temperatures, and these are for Seattle. So some of our hot spots, think Tacoma and portions of southern Puget Sound, and then the Cascade foothills and valleys could even warm into the low and mid 90s, which we don't see that all too often, but it is the middle of summer. But then next week, our temperatures will start to go down once again. Here's a look around western Washington and portions of eastern Washington. Lake Chelan, no one is in the water just yet, it looks like, but the day is young. We still have plenty of sun to enjoy. And then we have blue sky, we have some mid-level and high clouds, and we have a good bit of marine fog right now moving over the Strait of Juan de Fuca. But here in Seattle, we have blue sky. I wanted to show you, you see the mountain, Mount Rainier is out. We see Elliott Bay, the Space Needle perfectly, but I wanted to zoom in. This is our Columbia Center tower cam in Seattle, looking toward beautiful Mount Rainier, and you see a little bit of fog off in the distance, but the mountain is out. And if you've been to Seattle, you know when you hear the mountain is out, it's going to be a beautiful day. For our areas up north, the north interior, the closer you are to the Cascade foothills, going to be in the mid and upper 70s. Our beautiful islands in the 60s and 70s if you're taking a ferry there, just some morning fog. And then into the afternoon for portions of Puget Sound and our islands, 60s and 70s. Then we get into Central Sound. Temperatures start to climb a little bit. Renton about 78 degrees. And if you're headed to the passes and hiking this afternoon, temperatures are going to be nice and comfortable in the 60s. Then we get to South Puget Sound and the foothills. You see upper 70s, lower 80s, closer to the beaches in southern Washington in the 60s, and then closer to Oregon in the 80s. As we get closer to the Olympic Peninsula, Port Angeles 67, Shelton right around 80 degrees. Our air quality should be in that good to maybe moderate range for today, but on Saturday could drop a little bit. But tomorrow morning we're waking up to the 50s, so actually near normal for this time of year, and then warming right back up. But tomorrow it's going to be hotter, not just here in Seattle and Puget Sound, but closer to the coast as well. Eastern Washington heating things up. And once again, if you have plans to camp this weekend or hike, going to be quite nice. For now, the air quality forecast for Saturday calls for moderate. You see that there. That could change. Now let's talk about the weather pattern. We have this ridge of high pressure that's going to build over the Pacific. It's going to amplify late this weekend and early next week. And with that being said, temperatures are going to peak. Then we get into Tuesday. The models have been going back and forth showing for our high temperature forecasts. They've been going cooler. They've been going warmer for Tuesday. So we'll have to see if this ridge begins to weaken and flatten out, because Tuesday's highs are simply dependent on if this happens or not, because we'll have this area of low pressure, a dip in the jet stream, troughing will likely begin to develop as that ridge begins to flatten. It opens the door for another system to move in, and that would bring us onshore winds again, and then we would have more unsettled weather. So for now, our Tuesday's temperature could be dependent on that system. Sunday, our highs are going to be in the 70s and 80s for the Seattle metro, in the mid and upper 80s, and potentially a couple of hot spots in the lower 90s. Monday is going to be similar. The coast going to be hot, 86 here in Seattle. And then Tuesday, our coast is going to be cooler because of the return of onshore winds, our natural AC coming off of the Pacific. And dependent on what happens with that system, the arrival of onshore winds, we'll have to see just how hot we get into our Tuesday. But for now, looks to be a hot one. But then Wednesday and Thursday, that's when things change and we get some cooler temperatures. We'll get some more clouds and potentially a sprinkle or two by later next week. Thanks so much, Ashley. Studio Ashley. Now we're back up for weather out west. Coming up after the break, we are going to have your national forecast because, surprise, surprise, it's summer. More heat returns out east and storms in the plains. Welcome back to this Friday's version of Weather Out West. Now we're going to take you nationally, where Julie Martin's going to talk about the heat and then more storms.
Well, for this Friday, we do have some storms expected in the high plains. Also, that heat returning once again to the Midwest and the Mid-South, along with that humidity. And we are going to see some slightly cooler temperatures in the desert Southwest, where it's been so hot. So taking a look at those temperatures here across the eastern half of the country, you'll notice earlier this week we were way below average in terms of temperatures, especially in the deep South. Well, that is no more. In fact, take a look at this. Des Moines, you're going to be at 92 degrees, Indy at 90, St. Louis in the mid-90s, and factoring in that humidity, it's going to feel very uncomfortable. Triple-digit heat indices are going to be present. That goes for a lot of us here in the deep South. Atlanta at 85, Tampa at 90, Houston at 98, triple digits here across Texas, very hot. You'll notice the purple color, that's a heat dome there. 97 in Denver, 113 in Phoenix, so that is not cool, but relatively speaking, a little bit cooler than it was, and we'll see the 70s to 80s in the Pacific Northwest. Fire danger continuing in the Four Corners region in the Great Basin, where the firefighting is ongoing there. We're looking at a severe weather threat here that is a slight risk, a level 2 out of 5 as we head into the Twin Cities. Everyone you see here in yellow and parts of the Dakotas are also going to be under a marginal threat for some severe weather. So hail, damaging winds going to be the primary factors here. I'll have to watch out for lightning strikes as well. So just have your ways to get those watches and warnings as you proceed throughout the day and the evening. Eyes to the tropics, here we go. Now the good news here, we're watching a couple of systems, as is the National Hurricane Center. The one in yellow has about a 20% chance of development over the next several days, 7 days to be exact. And the one in orange is got about a 60% chance of development. Either way, both of these storms are expected to go out to sea in the Atlantic and shouldn't have any major impacts on the east coast other than maybe some rip currents. So that's some good news there, but the tropics do seem to be coming back alive. All right, taking a look at the forecast highs for your Friday, we are looking at 70s up to 80s in Seattle. Spokane, you'll hit 91 by Sunday. A nice weekend there in Boise and Portland, plenty of sunny skies. triple digits in Sacramento, 80s in San Diego. Phoenix, you're going to be again above 100 degrees, but not quite as bad. In Denver, you're fall back into the 80s. Hot there in the Lone Star State for everyone. We've got those triple digit feels like temperatures, and that goes for you there in Little Rock and New Orleans as well as Tampa. It's going to be feeling very hot and very humid. Not too bad in Atlanta. A nice weekend setting up in the 80s. Looks pretty good in and around the Great Lakes, although that heat is returning. St. Louis and Memphis, get ready for it. Heading into the upper Midwest, Minneapolis, you'll be in the 80s. You'll have to dodge a couple of storms here or there. Des Moines, you'll be dodging the storms as well as Grand Rapids, you'll be in the 90s. And as we head to the East Coast, not too bad. New England looking beautiful there in Portland. Mid-Atlantic, DC, Norfolk also looking great with those 80s.
When we come back, after hundreds of years, bison are freely roaming on the tribal lands in eastern Washington. Their reintroduction giving a boost to the ecosystem and deepening cultural connections. Stay tuned. I've been waiting for this story. A new generation of bison is now roaming on tribal lands in eastern Washington after nearly 2 centuries. Spokane's KREM 2, Cody Proctor, shows us how the reintroduction is not only improving the ecosystem, but it's also deepening cultural connections.
For the first time in a very long time, a new generation takes its first steps on the Colville Confederated Tribes Reservation.
To actually come out here and witness it, and they're just these tiny baby calves, it's kind of just makes your heart warm.
These bison calves are among the first born on the tribal land here.
They've been gone from here for at least a couple hundred years, 150 years, almost 200 years.
In 2023, the Colville tribes got the opportunity to introduce bison to their own lands. While bison weren't widespread across the inland Northwest, they hold a deep traditional meaning for the tribes here. The first 30 head of bison were released near Buffalo Lake.
It is kind of surreal in a sense to see, you know what I mean, like there's actually buffalo here now.
But they're more than a symbol. These bison are changing and improving the ecosystem.
There's somewhere between here and Swawilla.
Colville Tribes fish and wildlife biologist Sam Rushing monitors the bison, treating them as a wild herd.
A lot of other species have coexisted with bison for thousands of years.
As a keystone species, bison help maintain healthy ecosystems. Their grazing creates nesting grounds for birds and promotes plant diversity. Rushing also expects them to help water resources.
They don't tend to spend a lot of time right down in the creek bottoms like domestic cows will. You know, they'll come down for a drink of water, but then they'll move off and stay out of the creeks and streams.
Compared to cattle, bison protect creek and riverbanks that serve as critical habitat for fish and wildlife. But beyond the environmental support, the bison also reconnects the tribes to their cultural heritage.
At the moment, the current population for this bison herd is just over 45 members, but eventually the tribes would like to get that population up to a level they consider to be sustainable, meaning they can be harvested by tribal members.
In January, Fish and Wildlife hunted their first bull, part of sustainable management, with the meat set aside for ceremonial purposes.
We have this spiritual connection to all our foods, and nothing goes without any sort of respect and honoring.
So I have no doubt that we'll get to that level. It's just going to take a little bit of time.
What is that level?
We're still kind of determining that. So there needs to be kind of some assessment done on range conditions to see what the habitat can support.
Currently, the Colville Tribes Fish and Wildlife team's reviewing a draft of their bison management plan, laying the groundwork for both the future of the herd and the future of the tribes.
It's kind of healing to reintroduce these species, you know, for your spirit. It really helps that healing process, the trauma we've gone through, to see a lot of these back on the landscape.
For Environment Northwest, I'm Cody Proctor.
And tonight's full moon is the sturgeon moon, which gets its name for this time of year when sturgeon fish are most rapidly caught. In fact, some indigenous tribes in Canada refer to it as refer to it as the flying up moon, since it comes when young birds are learning to fly. So it is expected to peak just before 1 a.m. Pacific time tomorrow morning, but NASA says it's going to appear to be full for a few days. And don't forget, the Perseid meteor shower peaks August 12th to the 13th, and that's when it peaks, but you can view it tonight and all the way through August 23rd, which we'll have more coverage of that next week on Weather Out West. We want to thank you so much for joining us on this Friday. I hope you have a fabulous weekend, and we hope to see you again on Monday.